So, as you can see, my workspace is quite messy. It flooded down here, so I haven't been able to do anything or really clean anything up. So that's what I'm going to do. So let's clean stuff. Yay!
Hello everybody and welcome back to Blur's Craft. Today we're going to jump into some Necromunda, which is one of my favorite kind of settings to build things in. I love the sci-fi, futuristic, post-apocalyptic, dystopian future sort of feel, so we're going to jump into that. But before I do, I'd like to take a moment to thank everyone who has recently subscribed to my channel, liked my videos, just been a part of this whole creative process for me. I really appreciate it. I'd also like to shout out the In Rust We Trust Discord server and Hive Scum podcast. I'm only your enemy because you're afraid of how powerful we would be as friends. So if you haven't checked those two places out, I would definitely give it a go. And now I will actually start talking about the build.
Okay, so now that we got the rear shock installed and how we're going to connect the second level to the first level done, I think I'm going to work on beefing up these skis and the front a bit. So let's get on that.
So this was a super fun build to do. It started out as a box of giveaway toys that I started digging through. I found an old Polaris snowmobile remote control vehicle that no longer worked. And I pretty much tore it all the way down to just the bottom track and the two skis and the front suspension. I then reinforced the heck out of it and leveled it off with plastic card and greebled and greebled and greebled. There was also some Nerf guns in the giveaway pile, so I snagged those because I know that they have some wonderful greebles inside of them. I ended up finding this gray piece which when it had an angle cut on the bottom of it, so when set vertically it sat at an angle, and I thought that would make a wonderful kind of mounting for some sort of massive drill to put on the front of this thing. The drill ended up being made out of Nerf gun parts, a little bit of that plastic cardboard, a couple of water caps, and a toy pipe.
So here's the basic mock-up of the finished idea that I have. I'm going to do another second floor there. I want it detachable though, so that I can build different parts to go on the top, so it doesn't have to just be this refinement center. It's also why I left this unglued. You can also use it as other terrain too. Possibly put something else there in the front in the future. But I am going to start working on this. But before I do that, I want to put another set of lights on this bottom before, just to add some more detail, because remember that adding more detail, that never hurts it. So I got these lights, but they all fell out of the package and I don't know what color they are. They're an assortment. So we're going to choose one of these guys and pull the tab and see what color did we get. We got white lights. Okay, that works. Cool. So let's put some white lights on it.
So I purposely built this piece to try to insert some of those T-lights that I have to give it kind of like a front-mounted spotlight and sensor array. This is built out of the barrel, or the tip of the barrel of one of those Nerf guns, and a piece of the toy piping cut off, and some plastic card. That little barrel tip comes from a Nerf gun that had like a little flashlight on the attached to it somehow. It didn't work when I found it, but I thought that the clear piece of plastic, and like the whole setup for the flashlight would make a good spotlight slash sensor array. I also needed some piece of machinery that actually refines or processes whatever chemical is stored in that tank. So I think I used the barrel or part of that same gun with the light on it. I then used my handy dandy compass, and I cut some circles that would fit the little space that said Nerf, just to get rid of those kind of branding logos, TM and patent pending. Those are like the bane of my existence. It's the worst when you finish painting and you find one.
So next we're gonna keep working here on the second floor. Made this piece modular. There's a magnet glued on the inside. There's a magnet on the top of the actual vehicle, so they stick together. I'm gonna do more than one floor so I can have something besides a refinement vehicle, maybe a tank or something. I also obviously left this piece modular so it can be used on for other terrain, or on this to make it a resource gathering vehicle. But anyways, here I'm going to do some more detailing on this, and I'm going to work out this building. I did cut a bunch of pieces that should fit. I decided that I wanted crew capacity. It doesn't have a place for where the crew lives, so I'm going to build like an enclosed single floor here and work its way up. And we'll see how it comes out.
But before I started building the next floors, or the crew compartment, I wanted to put some detail in here because I knew that I wasn't going to be able to access it once I start building a big building on there. I then did build the building. I did it my simple square block way. You can check out some of my other videos, my more time builds, to see how I build basically the cardboard box houses. This is the same technique, just using plastic card.
As you can see, I got the building part, the crew quarters, put together. I started doing some detailing on it, some old GW kit pieces, some donated pieces, resin cast I think, and I'm going to continue doing that with a little bit of card, just putting details on it. So, yay!
Quick shout out to the Ruin 501 on Instagram. He's the one that sent me those windows. I used a bit on my wartime board, but I love the Gothic architecture and I have them, so I was like, use what resources you have. The paneling is cardstock and the little rivets are Legos, again, from the toy giveaway box. I really like the way those little rivets work, so whenever I see them in giveaway Legos, I snag them.
So as you can see, I finished up the build and started painting. Most of it's spray can, rattle can, and a little bit of acrylic. The yellow is acrylic. The red, I just started on getting some weathering with the acrylic before I do some pigment paint. But before I do the pigment powder, before I do that, I'm going to do some oil wash. So I got a big chunk of oil, black oil paint, some white spirits, and paintbrush. So you might be asking, Blurs, you totally skipped how you built almost all of this and painted most of it. Well, there was a sewage explosion down here in the underhive, and it sucked, and I didn't want to work in it. So I cleaned it up, moved most of my stuff up to a more sanitary place, and continued working on it. Unfortunately, the place that I was working on it isn't really the best to film. There's a lot of interruptions, lots of people moving through. So I didn't film it. But, if there's anything you guys want to know, you just gotta holler at me. either on my Instagram or on this channel. Just add a comment, you know, that whole thing. So yeah, that's why there was about an inch of sewage water. So yeah, I got the oil paint, the oil wash all on there. Still needs to dry in some spots. It did cause some warping, but I kind of like that, so I'm not really worried about it. But next step is going to be the pigment powder. And you might think that's a lot of pigment powder, and you're right, that's going to be a lot of pigment powder, and I don't have that amount of pigment powder. I got that much, and that's not enough, so I gotta make some more. That's right, I'll make my own pigment powder, because it's expensive stuff and it's pretty easy to make. It's not as high quality as, say, the store bought pigment powder. Like, you can get some really good pigment powders, but you can also get cheap chalk from the dollar store. So got myself an old coffee grinder. Put some colors up in here. Bam, look at that pigment powder. Oh my god. Put that lid back on. What?
And this is the point where I remind you to wear your PPE, because this stuff is not very tasty. I basically doused it in this and then clear coated it, and that's pretty much it. Some quick glamour shots to check out real quick, and I'd like to thank you again for watching my videos, checking out my channel. I really appreciate it. It means a lot. And again, I would like to shout out the Hive Scum podcast. They are a really great group of guys and very supportive, and have basically inspired me to do this channel and put, you know, my sculpting and terrain building out here in the public. So if you enjoy this, you can thank the Hive Scum podcast. Good night and good luck.